My husband, whose attitude often veered into misogyny, constantly belittled me as a stay-at-home wife. Every time I attempted to assert myself, he would threaten me with divorce. "Challenge me, and we'll get a divorce," he'd warn. Then, one day, I uncovered a secret of his. From that moment on, my respect for him vanished, and I knew it was time for a change. I was done being the submissive wife he could scorn. Armed with the divorce papers he prepared, I set my plan into motion. My name is Megan. After losing my father in high school, it was just my mother and me. Thanks to the inheritance he left, I was able to attend an IT vocational school and find a place in the workforce. I was finally starting to give back to my mother. But just as I was finding my footing, she passed away from a sudden heart attack. Feeling completely alone, my savior appeared, my current husband, Scott. After I started at my new job, Scott took it upon himself to mentor me, guiding me through the complexities of the corporate world. He was a pillar of support when my mother passed away, showing genuine concern for my well-being and encouraging me to lean on him more. From that point on, I relied on Scott not just for career advice but for personal support as well. Scott was a constant presence in my life, always leading and reassuring. "Megan, you really can't imagine life without me, can you?" he would often tease. When we began dating officially, he proposed with a promise. "From now on, I'll protect you for the rest of our lives. Let's get married." Following Scott's suggestion, I left my job after our marriage to become a full-time housewife. My new role was to create a comforting home so Scott could focus on his work without distractions. However, living up to Scott's high expectations proved challenging, and I struggled to meet his standards and manage the household chores. "Hey Megan, what did you do all day?" my husband would ask, his tone often tinged with frustration. "I cleaned the room, did the laundry, aired out the comforter, and went shopping for dinner. I also spent time making beef stew." "How is it?" I asked softly. "It's fine, but did you really clean properly?" "Why do you ask?" "There's dust on this shelf." "Oh, I must have missed that. I'll make sure to pay closer attention next time." "If you're home all day, you should make sure the housework is done right." I'm sorry." Scott continued to impose a superior-inferior dynamic in our marriage, just as he did at work. One day, he commented, "What's with this meat and potato stew? Is it not to your liking?" I asked, concerned. "Why is there pork in it? It's supposed to be beef." "In my family, we always use pork for this dish." "That's probably because your family couldn't afford beef," he said dismissively. "Are you implying that my salary isn't sufficient?" "That's not what I meant at all," I replied, trying to explain. Scott would harshly reprimand me whenever things didn't go his way, frequently belittling me for being the child of a single-parent family and lacking common sense. He began spending his weekends away from home. One day, I asked, "Hey, Scott, where do you go every weekend?" His demeanor darkened. "Why do I need to explain my plans to you? It's not about reporting. I'd just like us to spend more time together on weekends. You have the whole week to relax at home while I'm at work. Let me enjoy my days off the way I choose. I'm not asking you to take me out. I just want us to have some quiet time together." "That's exactly what I can't stand," Scott muttered as he stormed off to the bedroom. "I married a woman with no special talents and let her be a housewife. All you need to do is stay quiet and handle the chores." The next day, he handed me a piece of paper. It was a divorce notice with his name already filled in. "What's this?" I asked, shocked and confused. "You don't even know what this is. I guess single mothers don't teach their kids the basics," he replied dismissively. "Scott, are you saying you want a divorce?" "This is a warning," he said coldly. "It's because of that disrespectful comment you made yesterday. If you ever speak to me like that again, I'll divorce you immediately." "But why?" I asked, bewildered. When Scott made that comment, I was left speechless. With no family to turn to, I had nowhere else to go. Since then, I had no choice but to quietly watch him leave every weekend. One day, while cleaning the house as usual, I noticed his computer was still on. As I moved to turn it off, I glimpsed the screen and saw a hotel resort homepage. Could this be a couple's trip? I thought, a flicker of hope brightening my mood. Maybe, despite his harshness, Scott still cared about me. From that day on, I put extra effort into my housework, eagerly waiting for Scott to mention the trip. However, despite my anticipation, he never brought it up. Curiosity got the better of me, and I began checking the computer more frequently. The browsing history revealed that Scott was still searching for hotels. I started to wonder if he was actually planning the getaway for us. One day, while checking the computer again, I saw a reservation confirmation for a hotel on a booking site. The reservation was for the upcoming weekend. It seemed he had finally picked a hotel for us. Eagerly anticipating an invitation, I waited for Scott to mention the trip. By Friday, my patience wore thin, and I asked, "Scott, don't you have something to tell me?" He looked at me, a bit taken aback. "What are you talking about?" I hesitated to press him further about the trip. His mood soured, and he went to bed early. The next morning, I found him already dressed and ready. "Good morning, Scott. Why are you dressed up so early?" "Oh, it's nothing. I'll be leaving once I'm ready. I won't be home today," Scott said curtly before quickly preparing himself and heading out the door. What was going on? Had he changed the reservation? I checked the booking details and saw that the name in the companion section was no longer mine but another woman's. Companion, Lily, 25 years old. In that moment, everything became clear. Scott wasn't planning a trip for us. He was planning the getaway with a young woman named Lily. All my feelings of love, gratitude, and respect for Scott dissolved instantly. Acting swiftly, I decided to verify his affair. I went to the hotel where Scott had made the reservation. When I arrived, I saw him and Lily cheerfully entering the hotel. I made sure to take photos as evidence, firmly imprinting the scene in my mind. When I returned home, I thoroughly examined our computer. After some searching, I found text messages between Scott and Lily, along with photos of them together. Now I had the evidence to confront him. I decided to wait until he came back from his trip. Until then, I spent the day wandering aimlessly and later enjoyed the solitude of my empty house. Scott's usual scolding for my laziness seemed like a distant memory. The following day, I skipped housework, ordered takeout, and spent the day however I pleased. On Sunday night, Scott finally came home. "Welcome back. You're late, aren't you?" I greeted him from the sofa. His eyes widened at the sight of me lounging there. "What's going on?" he asked, bewildered. "What do you mean, what's going on? Why are you surprised to see me still on the sofa?" When I didn't greet him at the door, Scott's anger flared. His eyes fell on the delivery bag on the table, and his frustration grew. "Hey, what's this? Living it up while I'm away?" he demanded. I sighed and replied, "And where were you staying this weekend, Scott? Were you having a good time? If you knew, you wouldn't be acting like this. Sounds like you want to see it again," Scott said, rummaging through a drawer. "Wait, it's not here." His anger erupted. "Where did you hide the divorce papers?" "They're gone." "What?" I asked, confused. Scott's frustration nearly boiled over at my response, but then he let out a sarcastic laugh. "So, that's it," he sneered. "You threw away the divorce papers because you don't actually want to divorce me, thinking I wouldn't leave you. You're truly clueless. It's a shame your mother didn't raise you better." "I don't understand what you're talking about," I said, bewildered. "So you're playing dumb now, huh? Fine, I can get more divorce papers from City Hall anytime. I'll just go get some right now." "I didn't say I threw them away," I replied. "Then where are they?" "They're not here because I've already submitted them," I said calmly. "What? Didn't you hear me? I signed those divorce papers and submitted them to City Hall yesterday." "Wait, you submitted the divorce papers? Do you even know what that means?" Scott asked, bewildered. "Of course I do," I replied. "Submitting the divorce papers means the divorce is finalized." "Are you saying you didn't know that, Scott?" Scott's face turned beet red at my mockery. "Don't mess with me. You lived comfortably on my salary." "Comfortable?" I shot back. "Where's the comfort in a marriage with someone who constantly belittles and ridicules me and never shows any appreciation for all the housework I do?" "Belittle you?" "Absolutely. As a housewife, you're clearly beneath me, the breadwinner. If you're going to act like this, I'm done. Go be on your own and see how foolish you've been. Get out right now." Scott erupted in anger, kicking me out and shouting. Anticipating this, I had already packed my bags. It was the right call. I grabbed my suitcase and left the house with a sense of pride. On impulse, I rented a weekly apartment and spent the night there. The next morning, I noticed an overwhelming number of missed calls from Scott. Just then, he called again. "Oh, what's up?" I answered. "Don't what's up me. Where are you?" "It's none of your business. We're not married anymore. Stop fooling around. The divorce papers you submitted aren't invalid." "But you signed them yourself," I pointed out. "I wasn't serious. You probably acted out of confusion too, didn't you?" After a night's rest, you should be more clear-headed. If you apologize, I'll forgive you. Just come back. I don't think I have anything to apologize for. How dare you test me, your husband? I supported you all this time. If I leave you, you'll be alone again. Is that what you want? I realized something. It's better to be alone than to be with someone who doesn't care about me. I could sense Scott's fury seething on the other end of the phone. Scott's voice thundered through the phone. What? I've made compromises. Fine. I don't care about you anymore. You'll regret this. I'm pretty sure you'll be the one to regret it. You can't do anything. You're just a loser. With that, Scott slammed the phone down in a fit of rage. I used to be terrified of his outbursts, but now I felt a deep sense of contentment. He didn't reach out for several days. Then, a week later, I received a call from him on my cell phone. Megan, what is this bill? After confirming Scott's affair, I had asked my lawyer to file for damages. It seems he had finally received the bill. Oh, did it arrive? The details are all clearly listed on it, I replied. Why should I pay damages? You're the one who walked out. I even offered to work things out, but you stubbornly refused to come back, Scott argued. Actually, you're misunderstanding. The damages are for your affair, I clarified. My affair? With whom and when? Scott demanded. With Lily, 25 years old. You've been seeing her for a year, I said calmly. How do you know? You left plenty of evidence on your computer. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you really believe I was that naive? Scott seemed to doubt my claims. Angrily, he retorted, Evidence? You're lying. There was nothing like that on the computer. Yes, that's right. I knew you weren't stupid enough to leave texts and photos with your mistress on your computer. You can't fool me, I said confidently. Why don't you see for yourself whether I'm bluffing or not? I challenged. I sent Scott the evidence of his affair. His voice immediately turned frantic upon seeing it. How did you get this? I thought I deleted everything. It's true that all the data had been deleted from the computer, but Scott overlooked the fact that I had a certification in IT from vocational school. After some effort, I managed to restore the deleted files and save them. Realizing he couldn't escape the truth, Scott's attitude shifted abruptly. Look, Megan, you don't really want to do this, do you? Yes, I had an affair with her, but it was just a fling. You're the one I truly love. You can't live without me, can you? Scott pleaded. I realized then that this was just his manipulation. Being with you only eroded my self-confidence. Instead of feeling protected, you were destroying my self-esteem. You're just playing the victim, Scott snapped. Without my salary, you wouldn't be able to survive. Sure, you get some harsh words now and then, but that's reality. I can't bear the thought of you, who betrayed me, enjoying yourself while I suffer. I'm holding you accountable for what you've done. That's what the damages are for. Scott finally recognized my resolve and reverted to his usual verbal abuse. Fine, I'll pay. I didn't realize you were such a spiteful person. I felt sorry for you being alone, so I got involved with you, but it was a huge mistake, Scott said, his voice dripping with disdain. Same to you, I retorted. You picked me because you thought you could control me. I should have seen that from the start. You're probably with your mistress, Lily, because she's young and obedient. Pay the damages and go be with her. You'll soon realize that you're destined for a lonely life. Despite his bravado, Scott transferred the agreed-upon amount of compensation to me as required by my lawyer. A few days later, he contacted me again. Megan, could you return some of the money to me? What? I exclaimed, unable to keep my voice down. I've never heard of returning a compensation fee. Besides, after paying the damages and dividing our property, you should still have plenty of savings left, right? Well, that's the problem. My savings are running low. I swallowed my pride to ask you for help, Scott admitted. It turned out that Scott, having invited Lily to live with him, had given her his credit card for emergencies. However, she had started spending recklessly, depleting nearly all his savings. Desperate, he was now turning to me for assistance. Frustrated, I responded, I may have been foolish not to see through you before marrying, but you're just as naive for not noticing your mistress's spending habits until it was too late. I realize now that you're the only one for me, Megan. You must feel lonely being single too, right? Seriously, will you ever grow up? Do you think I'll be single forever? I asked, exasperated. Don't tell me you've found someone else, Scott said, his voice tinged with concern. No, I haven't. And please stop comparing yourself to others. I replied. Well then, what is it? You don't have family anymore, right? He pressed. With the money my parents left me, I started a new business. I'm surrounded by great colleagues, and I barely have time to feel lonely, I said confidently. You with no special skills starting a business. Scott scoffed. Are you still insisting on that? Can't you just admit that your negative attitude affects everyone around you? I countered. Me ruining? Scott's voice trailed off, incredulous. You belittle others until they lose their confidence and spoil your mistress until she gets out of hand. Unless you change your selfish ways, neither you nor anyone around you will ever find happiness, I told Scott firmly, rejecting him once and for all. After that, he never reached out again. It seems he realized that he could no longer look down on me now that I was successfully running my own business. Rumor has it that Lily dumped Scott immediately after draining all his savings. With his tendency to either belittle or indulge others without forming genuine connections, Scott will likely struggle to find a lasting partner. If anyone is destined for a lonely life, it's Scott, not me. With that in mind, I dedicated myself to my work once